Hey gamers, welcome back to Better Souls. Captain Cryptic here. So, been noticing as we are getting a new influx of members in our Discord, there's quite a few people who's just now coming into the game, or they don't really understand some of the basics of the different types of ship types and how to match those with weapons. So I want to make a quick video on that if you're trying to understand the ship builds and the classes. So, what you're going to do is after you look at your ships, or if you're deciding to build a ship, you're going to be able to look at all of the stats by bringing up the details of the ship. So let's bring this bark up here. Called it the easy target. It's a healing class. Okay, so now if you've ever played RPG games, you're going to have different classifications. Some will be for tanks, some will be for healing, some will be for DPS output, stuff like that. They have balanced builds and so on and so forth. And within those types of classes, you're going to end up getting classes that'll be like more tank with heal, or more healing than anything else, or more tank than DPS, or more DPS than tank, or you can find combinations in between. So what you're going to look at is you want to see what type of ship that you have. By bringing up that menu, it's going to give you all the different stats that's there. So it says it's a support class ship, specializing in aiding friendly ships. Support excels in providing assists that can help turn the tide of war. So it does have a revitalized, restore 0.5% of severe damage and 0.5% of whole health per second. That's going to be for you and your nearby friends, just as a base. Now there's things that you can do for furnitures that's going to increase those as well, so that's something that's going to be great to look at. So you know you're going to want to use some healing weapons with this. It's going to heal your group. But it also makes for a pretty good farm tank if you're in something where maybe your ship gets blown up a lot. You don't like having to go to port to get that severe damage fixed. This is going to fix it for you without having to run to Ouroboros armor or the maintenance station inside. You'll be able to fit more furnitures inside. So something that's pretty nice about this. It's also going to restore 15% of the stamina, 10% of severe damage, 60% more of whole health on a friendly ship while using a repair weapon. So whatever that max repair is that you're sending out, if you're using repair 3 mortars or whatever, it's going to add another 60% to that. It's going to heal another 10% of severe damage to those ships as well when you go to heal them. So it is a true support class within the healing class. So pretty cool stuff with that one. Now as you come through, you're going to see a lot of things. The Dow, I mean, it's the beginner ship. You're not going to use it for much other than going shark hunting or looking for hippos and crocodiles. There's really nothing you're going to do to strengthen that boat because it is an entry level ship. So then we have like the cutter class here, which is going to be a support style. It says aiding friendly ships. Support excels in providing assists that can help turn the tide of battle. It restores severe damage by 0.5%. And yeah, so a cutter class, the Sentinel, a small ship, basically kind of like this, just smaller. So you're going to see that each ship is going to have different types of classifications. Then you can get into like the barge. So the barge is a DPS, dealing damage, status effects, and DPS favors an aggressive playstyle. So it's going to apply an ablaze effect to ships. So similar to what the the Sandbuck does, it's going to apply a blaze effect to ships. Apply the same effect to all enemies in a radius of 125 meters, increasing the weapon damage by 20%. Burning damage is increased. The blaze charge speed is up by 150%. That's actually, the stats on that are actually better than the stats on the Sandbuck. But as you can see, it is currently a small hull ship. So there's some talks going on that these smaller hull ships are going to be able to be brought up and beefed up to compete with the medium classes. So that's going to be pretty cool stuff if that's true later down the road. So then we have the better class. That'll be the second ship that you get into. It's DPS, specialized in dealing damage. Status effects, DPS favors aggressive playstyle. This one's going to increase damage from ramming by 25%, reduces showing effects of torch cells by 50%, applies flooded to an enemy ship upon ramming. So similar to what you're going to get with the Brigantine class. It's pretty much the same types of stats. You're getting 40% with the Brigantine. Here you're going to get 50% reduced slowing effect of a torn sail. So a little bit better on some stats. Lower obviously on health for the whole health and stuff like that. But so that's what you're looking at. This is what you would call a DPS style ship. And the thing that differs between this style of DPS, this is ship base melees. If you've ever played RPGs, you have your weapons damage, and then you have melees. You can increase the base type of damage, which is going to be the flooding effect from the ram horn with furnitures. But if you come over to another style DPS, this is what they would call an elemental DPS build, similar to what we had over here with the Bark class and even the Padawan. So the Padawan does explosive. The Sandbuck class is going to focus on a blaze effect. So you may be wondering, what exactly does that mean? Well, that means with like a Sandbuck, you want to use weapons that set ships ablaze and have an ablaze effect. So you're looking at the Zamzam 3s. They're great for a blaze weapon. When you look at the Fire Bombard 3s, well, they do explosive damage, which is where you're going to come into a Padawan, because this is going to have a 70% chance of triggering explosions, which deal 1,000 damage within 125 meter blast radius. So great ship to use for the Fire Bombards, that Padawan. Now, if you're looking at wanting to be more of a tank class ship, they have a class in here for you. It is the Snow. I've called this one the Enigma. It is a true tank. If you look at that first ship type, it's going to tell you what it sets in at. So the Hulk, it was a tank as well. Bark's a support ship. Then you have, DPS ships like I was telling you before. And you would look at this Snow. It's going to recover brace strength by 4% per second, while bracing increases brace strength by 50% and brace strength recovery by 150%. Now, if you were to use the Snow and you were to use armors such as the Black Prince, which is going to help hold the health once you reach 33%, then you use things like the Rigging Station, which is going to increase brace and increase brace strength as well and make it last longer with your stamina, then you're looking at a really good build for something like that. And that's how you're going to pair those together. Now, as far as what type of weapon should you use with one of these ships, that's going to depend on what you want to use. Now, you're not going to get any more of a DPS value than what comes with the weapons with a tank class like this. Now, there could be in the future, they've talked about expanding the classes a little bit, and I expect we'll probably end up seeing that before we start to see the large ships. I know we were all kind of hoping for Season 2 on that. We haven't heard any releases. We know there's some new ship, at least one new ship coming in based off the card that they put out, but we don't know what it's going to be or even what size hull that's going to be. But I imagine we're going to start making ways to beef these ships up and even to merge our weapons and stuff like that. So that's going to be pretty cool to see that come out later. So I hope that's going to explain a little bit with this. So what I use with this Snow is depending upon what type of stuff that I'm doing. So typically I use a Snow tank, and I will use a weapon such as the Mons Meg 3. That is a wall killer. Okay, that's for castles. You're going to be selling out. You'll have you some healers keeping you healed, and you have a Mons Meg 3, which is going to be doing additional 50% damage to the structures. And you can put on the Vat of Volatiles. That's going to increase that percentage again as well. Firing against structures, so you can boost those up. Then you can use furnitures and stuff like that to go with it, or you could do short range. And I have in the past used a Twin Winch Ballista on the front, or even the Great Spring all 3. Put that on the front of this thing, put you some demis on the side and a Fire Bombard off the back. You have a pretty good ship to just kind of go around and terrorize anything in the game with, and you can brace through just about anything using this tank class. And honestly, when it comes down to the Snow, it's probably one of the most beautiful ships in the game, the way that it's made. The Bark is a really great multi-purpose ship. I built one of them, and what I recommend, you can have more than one ship. So we have this one here, I call it the Easy Target. And then, of course, we have one that is the Healer. So this is just set up with healing weapons all the way through, and you can build more than one type of ship using the blueprint. So you could do a couple brigantines if you didn't want to have to swap weapons around. I recommend you build enough weapons to be able to choose a ship and just jump straight into it and not have to move a bunch of stuff around. It makes the game so much easier, so much quicker that way. So before we hop off here, I wanted to show you a little bit on the weapons as well. Okay, so I am currently using Zama 3s all the way around. It's one of my favorite cannons to use. Depending on what I do, I swap that around. Sometimes I'll put on the front of that, I will end up using the, the Twin Winch Ballista or that Great Spring Wall 3. Both are great options for taking out sails, using long distance shots for that Blighted Bastion. You don't want to get too close to that guy. So great to use that on his weak points. Whenever he starts to puff out that smoke, you want to be hitting that drum on the back of him. And then in the meantime, you have your Zamas on the side to deal with the plague ships that are coming in close. and I typically will throw a fire bombard on the back, or sometimes a healing bombard. We'll just, it just depends on what the need is within the group. But when you look at these, you can do just like with those ships. Hit the detail button. It's going to give you some information. So this is going to increase charge rate of vulnerable effect by 50%. Vulnerable effect means that you're going to be able to do crew attacks or boardings 50% quicker. Now you can add furnitures to bolster that as well, and that's going to increase those effects. If you have blue specters, so this thing here, it is deals an increased amount of damage when focusing attacks on the same target. Adds 30% of damage as burning damage. So you could use something like that. I don't see where it does the ablaze effect on it, so it doesn't really match for a sandbuck. I know a lot of people do like it for that, but burning and blaze is a little bit different. So okay, so let's go to like Kalinko's fire. Same thing, burning damage, increased rate of vulnerability. Then you start getting into your different style cannons. So you have like Basilisk cannons. These are great cannons for shooting at medium range. Really enjoy them. They are very fast on reloads. Those and the Culverins as well. But as you can see, you're not really getting any kind of an elemental effect, but you do get 20% of damage on piercing. So there's going to be certain types of armor. When you look at armor to have low piercing ratings, this would be a great cannon to take some of those piercing ratings out. Just Tearing Culverin 3. It does increase damage by 50% when hitting sails. Hey man, all you got to do is aim at the sails. You're going to hit it. It's going to do 50% more damage. It's going to damage their sails as well. You're going to be putting out quite a bit of damage because they do reload fairly quick. And if you're using them on the side of, say, a Brigantine, you're going to be getting 8 shots out of that. Now, if you use it on some of the other ships, you're going to be getting 6 to 7. I think it's 7. I think you lose 1 off the top using the other ships. The Brigantine's the only one that'll shoot 8 off the side. So then, of course, you start getting to the flooding demis. Now, we don't have a ship that is going to increase the flooding damage, but you do have a weapon that does. Now, when you're looking at the Brigantine, you're looking at ram vessels. That's if you ram them, it increases that flooding. But if you're not ramming those ships, then you're not getting the extra flooding. So I'm hoping to see a DPS ship that's going to really bolster in on flooding element damage, because that's going to be amazing to have that. Of course, we ended up getting the where's it at here? We end up with the, I think I've actually got it on a ship. Those Coronauds, they have tsunami effect, which is the flooding damage. So I'm hoping to see a DPS ship with a flooding element base, which is going to be great if we can see some things like that in the game. You want to match your weapon to your ship. Now, if you're using a sandbuck, you could use these Fire Long Gun 3s because they do have that blaze effect. They're going to give you a little bit more damage when you send that round out compared to a Zama. But what I've found is they're not very accurate. They drop. It says it will shoot out at, let's see what the range is, 1,000 meters. About 7,000 it starts to drop pretty quick. So it's not one of my favorite weapons to use in the game, obviously. So then, of course, you have like your Mons Meg 3. This is what I was saying about increased damage to structure by 50%. Then you could look in there and throw some furniture on that snow. That's really going to make a great ship to take out those walls on those towers, take out those turrets, and take out those daggum broadsides and stuff that you have on those big forts, your mega forts, talking 13, 14, and 15. Then, of course, your repair bombards. These are going to increase restore whole health of friendly ships within a 35-meter blast radius. Now you can change that up where it's going to be a bigger blast radius, and all of the heal effects that you do with these weapons and with your furniture are then going to be multiplied by the bark build, because any kind of healing equipment automatically gets a buff on that ship, if you remember back on the base stats. So you would want to do a dedicated healer for one if you're playing in groups. If you're playing solo, I do recommend using the bark. If you're just messing around, picking up your 8s or whatever, if you do get sunk, it's going to repair the hull for nothing. You don't have to run back to port and get all that stuff repaired. It's going to repair itself. But chances of you getting nerfed out is going to be slim to none. You can use the enhanced repair kit 1s, which are going to do about 25% more healing to the bark, because the bark adds a buff to any equipment that you use, and you're reducing the cooldown time 5 seconds from what it would take you to use a standard 2. So, and you're getting more healing than you do with those standard 2s using these. And that's going to be true of any of the healing weapons that you have on here. It's going to be true of your repair kit. So if you use a repair kit or enhanced repair kit 2, then it's going to be shorter reload time than a 3, but you're going to get more healing. So I do recommend that you get in there and you start building them enhanced. What it does is it just merges your standard kits together to make it enhanced. Very, very good thing to have on there. Of course, you have your traditional bombards. It's going to have 10% damage as explosive damage and 30-meter blast radius. Doesn't do a whole lot of DPS and stuff. So these are kind of entry-level things you pick up. I haven't got rid of them because I'm hoping that you can start to merge them later. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Torpedoes, they have different types of things with torpedoes. Most of them are going to be increased damage torpedoes by 150%. If the target is beyond 100 meters, that's pretty standard. It's going to cause flooding. Now imagine if you had something where you had that coronado on the front, you had just some torpedoes off the side, and the ship did an added effect just like the sandbuck does for the ablaze and sends that fire ring out and catches all the ships around it on fire. Imagine if they had a flooding ship where it just really just bolstered that damage in there, man. That would be amazing to have. I'm almost expecting to come out with something like that in the days ahead. Yeah, so here's one of the Coronado. It's called Riptide. That's what it is. Adds 50% of damage to severe damage when target is flooded. So imagine being able to give them severe damage on their ship. They don't have Ouroboros or the maintenance forge. You're going to be seriously damaging their ship, and they're not going to be able to repair without going back to dock. And you'll win those PvP battles. So I'm looking for a great PvP ship, hopefully to come out in the next season. That's what I'm hoping for, guys. I think we'll see some stuff like that. It's going to take a little bit of time to get everything out. There's all kinds of content they've got planned. Kind of being tight-lipped about it right now. So that's how you would pair up your weapons. Then, of course, your armors are going to be whatever kind of armor you prefer. So, Wailing Ward, I use that quite a bit because we used to have Lepest around and those plague ships, and we tend to go over and farm him out. But when I'm not running that on this ship, I will throw Black Prince on because it's kind of a waste of moving an Ouroboros to it because I don't really need those extra heals from the Ouroboros. You could use a Royal Custodian if you wanted to, but I use Black Prince mainly because I've been getting them in drops in some of the boxes here lately. And again, you can bring those up and just hit the Y button. It's going to give you the base stats, what's going to work with certain types of furnitures and stuff, and that's what you're going to build in off of this. So like you have things like water tank, which is going to increase the it's going to reduce crew stamina depletion by 50% while bracing and increase stamina recovery by 20%. So great one to use. But on the snow, I would highly recommend you use something like the rigging station. What it would do is recover 1% whole health per second while whole health is less than 20%. It works pretty good as far as it'll hold a snow if you've got 33% of health and you're using a Black Prince on there and you're adding this rigging station or even Ouroboros armor onto that. It's going to really hold that health, man. They'll get you down around 20-30%. Then it's almost, I mean, they can take you out, especially if they got 2 or 3 guys, but it's going to hold and it's going to keep you in that battle. And typically you're going to outlast any of the DPS ships if you have built the right weapons for that. Then you have, of course, your different types of bombard powderhouse if you like using bombards. They have torpedo grinders, they have cannon grinders, culverin grinders. They have all different types of furnitures you can do. But what you want to do is make sure whatever the base stat of a ship is, say if you're using a sandbuck, you want to make sure your furniture is causing a blaze effect. You want to make sure that it's working with your weapons. That way you're doing as much damage as possible because, let's face it, the sandbuck can be a glass cannon. You can toughen it up some, but man, it doesn't have the whole health of any of the other medium ships right now. But if you can do enough damage real quick, it does great crowd control, and you are going to have one heck of a build. So I hope this has kind of helped you a little bit. I'm going to post this up also in our Discord for a lot of the new people that are coming into the game looking for some of the basics of this game. But y'all have a wonderful day. Weekend is here. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Looking forward to see what Monday evening is going to bring us. I expect we're going to see some rotations within World Defense. I don't expect any new features to come out till Season 2 because they haven't really released any information. But then again, you know, it is Ubisoft, and sometimes they will surprise you with some stuff. So there's always that little bit of hope for it. But like I say, not expecting it, just expecting to have a great time with friends on the sea. Have a wonderful evening, guys.